This pie chart shows where people get the news from. The largest number, 40%, get the news from the television, but this is closely followed by newspapers, which are used by 36%. It seems surprising that the internet comes third, with only 15% of people getting the news from there. Finally, only 9% get the news from other sources.
This graph shows the unemployment rate amongst people of different ages from 1992 to 2010. The rates for people aged 16 to 17 were the highest over the whole period, reaching 45% in 2009 and 2010. Between 1992 and 1995, the unemployment level for those aged 18 to 20 was about 25%. Then dropped below 20% until 2008, when they continued to rise, reaching 27 to 28% in 2010. The levels of unemployment for those aged between 21 to 24, both with and without a degree, followed a similar pattern, beginning at about 15% in 1992 and ending at about 12% and 14%, respectively, in 2010. But apart from a period from about 1993 to 6, the level of unemployment was higher for those without a degree.
This bar graph shows how many tons of carbon dioxide were emitted by residents in various places. The lowest figure is for London, where only about 6 tons were emitted by each resident. The North East was by far the worst, with about 12 tons of CO2 emissions per resident. It was followed by Yorkshire and the Humber with approximately 9.5 tons per resident. Residents of all other regions emitted between about 7 and 8 tons of CO2 in 2008.
This bar graph shows the growth in the number of households with internet access over the 4-year period from 2006 to 2009. Growth has been fairly steady over the period shown, at around 4 or 5% each year. According to the graph, about 70% of households had internet access by 2009. This compares to only about 57% in 2006.
Two things are illustrated by this graph, which covers a 20-year period running from 1989 until 2009. The number of overseas visitors to the UK and the number of UK residents going abroad. Both show steady growth until about 2008, although there was a slight dip in the number of overseas visitors to the UK between 2001 and 2002. In 2008, both types of travel dropped, with a particularly sharp decrease in the number of UK residents going abroad. Generally, throughout this period, more people from the UK went abroad than there were visitors to the UK.
This demographic graph breaks down the estimated population of the UK in 2010 by age and gender. The largest age group consists of men and women in their early 40s. Other large age groups in both sexes are the 20 to 30 age group and the early 60s. Up until the 70s, the numbers of men and women remain fairly equal, but then in old age, women outnumber men. It seems surprising that there are not more children and young people in the UK population today.
What's tested? The purpose of this task is to assess your ability to describe an image related to an academic theme drawn from the humanities, natural sciences, or social sciences. Only speaking skills are assessed. You will see an image, a graph, picture, map, chart, or table. You will have 25 seconds to study the image. When you hear the tone, you should begin describing in detail what is shown in the image. You will have 40 seconds to give your response. There are 6 or 7 images. Identify the type of image. Is it a graph, picture, map, chart, or table? The approach for handling each image type is slightly different. Take notes if you need to. Use the erasable noteboard booklet and pen provided. Do not write full sentences. Briefly list any important features you see. For graphs, charts, and tables, be sure you understand what is being measured and in what units it is being reported. Try to determine what the main point of the image is. You should be able to answer the question, what is the image mainly showing? Maps and pictures will often have obvious features highlighted. Use words and phrases that describe the locations of features within the image, for example, on the left, right, next to, above, below, and so on. If objects are particular colors, these may help you identify them, for example, the countries marked in yellow. The same is true for sizes and shapes, for example, the large square, the smaller circle. Graphs, charts, and tables often show trends or changes. Use words and phrases that describe the trend or movement. For example, increase, decrease, rise, fall, remain stable, steady, and so on. Use phrases to describe the speed at which the changes happen, for example, a sudden increase, a slow decline. Pie charts show proportions. The size of the slices indicates the relative size of whatever is being measured or counted. The actual numerical values for the slices are usually provided. Be sure to mention these values. If the slices are equally sized, say so, using words and phrases such as equal, the same, about the same, similar. If the slices are different, the usual case use comparatives and superlatives to describe them, for example, the smaller of the two export categories, the largest group of people, the most popular option, the least common answer, and so on. For all graphs, charts, and tables, look for a pair of extreme values, for example, the highest and lowest, the largest and smallest, the most expensive and cheapest. Identify them by name and describe them using the values for their measures or counts. While you are speaking, if you lose your train of thought, or find yourself at a loss for words, do not remain silent. The microphone turns off automatically if there is no sound for 3 seconds. If you need to pause to think or check your notes, use pause fillers such as let me see, and so on. Saying something, anything, is better than saying nothing, because once the microphone turns off, you cannot turn it on again.